Nobody wants to get united. Like, what we gotta do is meet everybody in 149th Street at the bench.
Every now and again, man, I come across a graffiti artist whose work is absolutely phenomenal, and I end up falling in love with the work, so in today's video, I want to share with you the work of Taste, to see if we can't learn something from how they do graffiti. You see, we're going to be breaking down their work in order to learn a little bit about negative space management, along with a couple of other things. But if you have trouble with negative space in your pieces, then stick around for this video, because I think we're going to have a couple of good tips here for you. Now, when you first look at Taste's work, you may think, their letters aren't all that crazy, how advanced could this possibly be? And while you may be right, they're not doing the craziest of wild styles, and their letters aren't as absurd as you might see from somebody like Saber, that doesn't mean they're simple. While the letters themselves may have a little bit of simplicity to them, the overall piece itself has a lot of technical things happening under the hood. Some of those things being letter name positioning, which is one of the biggest things that he uses, negative space management, letter name weight, as well as flow. You see, in this piece right here, I love the way he leans his letters against one another, almost as if to support the weight of one letter with the help of another letter. We can see that with the A and the S right here. The A leans to the right, and if the A was an actual physical object, the A would have tilted over to the side and fallen over. But instead, we have the S here in order to support its weight. We can also see how the bottom of the S swings to the left-hand side, and what happens with the A? The A is positioned in a perfect spot in order to have the bottom right of itself stand just right on the edge of that part of the S. But these two letters being this close together does more than just support the weight of one letter. It also promotes flow. You see, because if you watched our flow tutorial, you know that line uniformity and similarity is one of the major ways of flowing two letters. It's one of the major ways of flowing art in general. And we can see here that this part of the A is similar and uniform to this part of the S, which helps boost flow immensely. This is carried throughout the rest of the piece, where he uses line uniformity and similarity in order to really tether these letters together. But we can see a similar thing happen with negative space management and letter name positioning happen from the S to the T, where the top of the S is really small, really compact, and the center of the S swings high into the right. The center of the S actually travels further to the right than the top of the S does, and this leaves a bit of negative space between the top of the S and the distance traveled to the right from the center part of the S. He takes the bottom of his T and rests it right here on the bottom portion of the S that swings a little bit to the right. He takes the T and pushes it upwards and to the right, that way it rides right along the side of the S, flowing once again. And then he takes the top horizontal part of the T and swings it over to the left hand side to fill in the gap that he left right above the center of the S. And this really helps to fill in negative space. Now, the letter T is infamously difficult when it comes down to negative space management, because if you have a T in your name, then you know this letter pushes things away. And as a result, it also makes letter name positioning extremely difficult, which, because flow is kind of distance dependent in some cases, it also makes flow extremely difficult. And I think it's because he has two of these letters in his name that he really adapted extremely well and was able to go ahead and take those weaknesses of the letter T and turn them into strengths. Because we can see it again right here in this piece. In this one, we got the T leaning to the left, with a major bulk of the top portion of the T happening once again on the left hand side. Notice how the T tapers and gets thinner as it goes down to the right. And then it comes to an abrupt ending, and what happens? The letter A is positioned there. The side of the A is the same exact line as the side of the T, creating a sense of flow once again through line uniformity and similarity. And just like the previous piece, one side of his A is lifted a little bit higher than the other. This time, it's the left hand side lifted a little bit higher, and the right hand side shoots a little bit further down to the typical baseline of the rest of the piece. We then move on to the S, where it actually doesn't lean against the A. This time it actually shoots out in the complete opposite direction, creating a massive amount of negative space between the top of the S and the top of the A. Now, the bottom of the S, notice how it shoots down to the typical baseline of the rest of the name, and it shoots comfortably under the letter A, filling in not only the negative space, but helping to hold up the weight of the letter A as we previously discussed, and to help lead into the letter T. But then we get to the E, and something interesting happens here, because you see, the letter E is a really heavy letter, at least for most of its structures, and this one is no different. It has a part of its bottom that kicks out really far, and that adds a tremendous amount of weight to anything you put it on, whether it's a hand style, whether it's a throw up, or whether it's a piece. And then he took this a step farther and actually threw an extension at the end of that as well. Now, this outweighs the rest of his piece. He's got to do something about this. So what does he do? He throws an extension from the bottom of the A, where he still has some lingering negative space, and swings it right past the T, going to the left side hand of the piece. He's also got 3D going down into the left, which helps balance out the rest of the piece. All of these elements come greatly together in order to give you one super dope piece. Also, take note of how he's filling in a lot of his negative space with extensions here. He does that between the A and the S, he does that to the left of the T as we just discussed, he does that at the bottom of the ST here, and he does that on the E over here. This is something that we can see consistently in his work, where he's either using extensions to fill negative space or to go ahead and balance balance out the piece's weight or to do both. This is something that you guys can do in your own pieces, where you can methodically place your extensions in ways that benefit the fundamentals. If you notice maybe the right hand side of your name is a little bit too big and you do have an extension over there, why not make that extension flow with an additional one on the left hand side of your piece? Not only this is going to help flow, but it's also going to help balance your work. Thinking in terms like that can really help a piece pop off a page. I'm gonna be real, this piece I just liked. This piece I just really liked a lot. I love the letters, can I just say, like, the letters are absolutely awesome. The fill-in, really sick. The exterior detail pops really nice with the actual fill-in colors. I just more so wanted to share this one with you guys. And if you take any lesson away from this one, let it be the colors. But that's not it, man, because he's also using his 3D to his advantage. Whenever you're doing your work, you want to also be thinking about what direction you want to place your drop shadow or your 3D, or both if you decide to throw them both on a piece. It's this kind of foresight that allows you to really take advantage of not only depth, but maximize your negative space and your letter name positioning. Because if you know your 3D is going to be facing a certain direction, then this might leave you a little bit of leeway in order to go ahead and position a letter or lean a letter in a way that you typically wouldn't have. Now check out this man's throw up. Do you see this? This is clean, effective, and it gets the job done. You don't need a crazy fancy throw up with a billion different things going on. You can have simple letters and it's okay. That's why I wanted to go ahead and analyze his work, because a lot of newer graffiti artists have this feeling that their hand styles need to be crazy. Their throw ups gotta be equally as crazy, and their pieces gotta be 10 times crazier than the previous two. And that's just not the case. And there's something to be said for graffiti artists that can rock simple letters and still have equally as technical of a piece as somebody who's doing crazy wild styles, or even more technical of a piece. But that pretty much wraps it up, guys. I really enjoy this guy's work a lot. Also, if you guys want me to break down somebody else's work so we can teach from it, be sure to leave their name down below, or a link to their Instagram handle. That'll be great as well. Now, if you guys enjoyed today's video, remember to hit the like button. It helps out a bunch. And if you're new here, feel free to subscribe to the smartest graffiti community anywhere online. Now, if you guys haven't had enough graffiti content and you want more, feel free to check out the best how to do graffiti tutorials right here. And down here we have more graffiti content. On that note, I'll catch you guys next week. Until then, peace.